Time now for Media Watch, and we can say good evening to James Creedon.
Hi, Delano.
James. You're starting out here in France. It's been 60 years since the Fifth Republic came into existence here. Now, you've been looking at the debate online about whether or not France should move beyond the Fifth Republic and reform.
That's right. Now, it's a debate that goes back many, many years. People have spoken about the idea of a sixth republic for a long time. Ségolène Royal, going back a couple of presidential elections ago when she failed in her bid to get to the Élysée Palace against Nicolas Sarkozy, spoke about it, perhaps having a sixth republic. In any case, Emmanuel Macron is very much the typical Fifth Republic president. The Fifth Republic was set up by Charles de Gaulle along the line, inspired somewhat by monarchical structures, a strong head of state, all of the trappings, I suppose, of the monarchy, a palace and protocols and whatnot. In any case, Emmanuel Macron, who is in some difficulty at the moment with various key ministers leaving his government, notably the interior minister in the last couple of days, went to the grave or the tomb of Charles de Gaulle today on the 60th anniversary of the foundation of the Fifth Republic, and gave a big speech. And in that speech, he said that those who are against the notion of a sixth republic do not like the state. Now, that is a sentence that was very provocative, I suppose, for people across the political spectrum, but in particular on the far left. You've got the France Insoumise party, and they're big proponents, their leader, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, of a sixth republic. So just to give you some of the comments online, to give you a sense of where this debate is, Macron is confusing the state with a start-up. The modern state, it is the general will of the people. It respects the general will of the people. In other words, it's not top-down and hierarchical, as some would criticise the Fifth Republic for being. Those who don't like the state, it is the free market. Those who promote the free market, which destroys the state, etc., etc., etc. So you can see he was very annoyed by that remark. Others saying the truth, Mr. Macron, is that people like you, who are supporting the Fifth Republic because you're afraid of the people. Various other remarks then saying that those who don't like the Sixth Republic don't like the state. A few history classes will teach you, Emmanuel Macron, that there was a state well before there was a Fifth Republic. Now, they point out in this article in the Huffington Post that there was a poll about this back in 2015 conducted by Le Parisien newspaper, and about 62% of French people said they were favourable to the idea. So it is a real possibility down the tracks, I would say. Another reaction today online is the former Justice Minister, Christiane Taubira, very popular former Justice Minister under François Hollande. And she said the Sixth Republic, it's not just a slogan. This is about balancing out the institutions or the power structures. It's about creating spaces for citizens to dialogue. It's about the status of regional languages and cultures, etc., etc. This is a democratic idea, she said. So you can see prominent people more to the centre of politics agree with the idea as well. Emmanuel Macron himself, speaking to the Constitutional Council today after coming back from Charles de Gaulle's grave, said this. He said technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, transhumanism, all of these societal questions of tomorrow do lead us to have a rethink, if you like, about our institutions. We'll have to have a profound rethink of our institutions. So even though he doesn't like the idea of a Sixth Republic, he kind of admits that the institutions are being challenged by it, and that certainly having those same structures in place now as we had 60 years ago, perhaps it doesn't fully make sense.
Seems a bit dated. You're staying here in France for this next story, where there's a body in the country who wants people to use more French terms to describe everyday events like Fake news.
Gosh, we're hearing a lot of that lately.
I honestly don't think that it's going to work. Well, they can try and try, but I think French people have some English words in their vocabulary, and
indeed,
can't shake it.
It's a broader debate, I suppose, about to what extent English terms should be absorbed into the French language. There are institutions in place, of course, and there have been.
I constantly mix the two. Huh?
Indeed. Well, fake news, it is being used all the time in French media. The term has been widely adopted in many other languages as well. Indeed. But the proposed term is infox, which is a mixture of info, which is a shortened version of information, and intox, which is a shortened version of intoxication, which is often used for fake news in itself, actually. Anyway, will it take? Probably not.
I doubt it.
But actually, state structures will actually have to use this term. If it's institution, the administration or state establishments will have to use infox. Or information fallacieuse or other variations thereof, and perhaps that will have a trickle-down effect. We'll see.
We'll see. You'll see what happens. Now, speaking of fake news, an impressive video of nuns dancing to techno, I'm curious to know where this come from, has been proved to be fake by our Observers team.
That's right. Now, it got something like 20 million hits in the last week or so. It appeared on a Facebook page in the Czech Republic. First off, it shows these nuns. Now, they are you can't deny that they're dancing rather enthusiastically, but the music is somewhat surprising, right? The band behind the actual sound are called Future Doom. They have lyrics such as each time that darkness falls. Can we hear the music?
We can't hear the music.
Okay, well, that's a pity because it's very sort of dark and what would you say? Anyway, it's very negative kind of sound. What about this? Okay, video unavailable. That's been taken off. Anyway, that's a pity. But just take my word for it that it was sort of dark metal or death metal. And in the end, it turns out that the music that they were actually dancing to was this. Let's hope this actually is audible.
I think you're blocking.
Oh yes. Anyway.
Oh, we can't hear it?
You can't hear that either. Well, let's move on to another story. But let's just say that 20 million hits, it certainly got their dance moves.
So what were they actually dancing to? Tell us.
Say again?
What were they actually dancing to?
They were dancing to a Christian children's group, Polish Christian children's group, a song called Gori de Gori, which is Go Up the Mountain, and it had lyrics such as, if you have faith, you'll always be happy. A lot more consistent to what you would expect nuns to dance to as opposed to dark metal.
I'm sorry, they were jumping a lot in that video, huh?
They are indeed, they are. So anyway, there was the final story I wanted to talk about, I'm not sure if we have time, is death by selfie. This is a rather dark subject. I suppose we're finishing on a dark note all around here. But a study by the US National Library of Medicine came out with the fact that there have been 259 selfie-related deaths between October 2011 and November 2017. One could conclude that there might have been more, only that they mightn't have been registered. How can we kind of have general statistics from around the globe? But that's more than people have died by selfie than by shark attack, for example. It's usually related to falling off a precipice or a moving vehicle or whatnot, and young men are most at risk.
I think it was last year a Chinese tourist died here in France, a very high-profile businessman, because he was taking a picture. I'm not sure if he was taking a selfie, but you have to be careful. Look before you take a picture.
That's right. Be aware of what's going on
or don't take
around
selfies.
you.
Or don't take selfies.
Exactly.
James, thank you very much for that. James Sweden there with Media Watch. I was going to say fake news, but it's Sorry.
Anything but.
Slip.